Time to go to World Trade Center, then Jamaica, then Woodside, then Penn Station, then Jamaica, basically in that order. And starting from this video, all of my bus and train trips will include narration topics that I've been wanting to discuss for some time. Now, to be honest, I did not plan to take the SIM4X to Manhattan that day. I originally wanted to take the SIM8X, but I was picky because at the time I've yet to take an MCID 4500CL, and on the SIM8X at the stop that I was at, there was nothing but Prevost coming. But so when I saw blue Prevost on the SIM4X, I decided I am going to take that bus to Manhattan, and now here I am. And this is actually convenient because 1578 was new to Meredith Depot at the time, and 1578 was one of many of the blue Prevost that was coming to Meredith and to other depots. In fact, MTA was acquiring many buses during 2021. In fact, now that I think about it, there are some buses that are really nice. In fact, I love every single bus from every single manufacturer out there, whether it's Nova Bus, New Flyer, Gillig, MCI, Prevost, you name it. And basically, each bus is practical in many different ways, in many different applications. It's just there are some buses that the MTA has that they shouldn't have, and then there are some buses that the MTA doesn't have that I do not want them to have. And again, it's nothing against the manufacturer nor their product. It's just some buses that the MTA should not have. For instance, in the whole New Flyer versus Nova Bus debate, I love both buses. In fact, Staten Island's transit buses, excluding the Orion 7 EPA 10 out of Castleton, is nothing but Nova Bus when it comes to transit service. And I love the exterior of the Nova Bus LFS really more than that of the New Flyer XD40. Specifically the older XD40s with the camel-like roof on the top of the bus. Not so much of the flatter symmetrical roofs like on the XD60s for New Jersey Transit, and also some of the Excelsiors that were recently acquired in Queens. But I said all that to say that there are some buses from Nova Bus that the MTA shouldn't acquire. Specifically the Nova Bus LFSE and LFSE Plus, and the LFS CNG. Because nothing against Nova Bus in particular, or in with regards to the Nova Bus versus New Flyer debate or LFS versus Excelsior debate, because even though from the outside the LFS looks nicer, the Excelsior can be available in many different product lines with regards to length and fueling options. And I've said many times that for New York City, the Excelsiors are better for many reasons. Namely, when it comes to boarding and disembarking, especially for bus routes where where all doors can open and close, both the front door and the rear door, especially for select bus service routes minus the S79. Honestly, even though the more recent hybrid Nova buses in Manhattan and other boroughs have outward opening rear doors, they basically slide open. Whereas for the Excelsiors, they open outward at a 90-degree angle, which is actually more practical and easier to maintain in my opinion. And basically, to have additional technology added, which it would be a major burden to the ones that are to maintain the buses and also drive the buses. So it's not that I don't think the LFSE, LFSE Plus, and LFS CNG is impractical. It would just be an added expense and an added burden to ones that already work for the MTA. I'm more in favor of a simplified fleet. In fact, that's why on your screen is a link to my dream fleet for MTA buses. And don't think that I was going to exclude New Flyer in particular, because again, even though New Flyer is the company that I would prefer for transit buses for the MTA, there is some buses that I do not that necessarily want from New Flyer, specifically the XHE40 and XHE60, just not for the MTA, because we don't have really the time or the resources to invest in fuel cell technology. Right now, the XE60s out of Michael J. Quill Depot, all 15 of them, already require not as much to maintain, but already a good amount to make sure that they're running properly. Am I saying that fuel cell buses are not practical? Far from it. It's just not necessarily for the MTA, because we don't have any available infrastructure right now to accommodate for fuel cell buses. Even though one thing I must commend about fuel cell buses is I was able to take care of a little statistics sometime, because I overthink everything, and compare and contrasting between the XE40 and 60 and the XHE40 and 60, just the XHE40 alone has a greater kilowatt range and greater mileage than that of the XE60 alone. The only thing is, it's more expensive, unfortunately. And finally, with regards to Gillig, the reason why I don't want Gillig buses in particular, it's not that Gillig is a bad company. In fact, they're a really good company. In fact, in contrast to Nova Bus and New Flyer, when you go on Gillig's website, and regardless of the product, whether it's a standard plus, BRT plus, or even the trolley, it tells you the different customization options with regards to fueling, interior, whether or not you want a back door, or if you want overhead luggage racks or not. And I commend Gillig for that. It's just the reason why I don't want Gillig for the MTA is because we already have buses from other manufacturers, and just to add one more manufacturer would be a further burden for the bus operators and for the maintenance crews. And the same is true with regards to Proterra in particular. Now, nothing against Proterra, especially since Grand Avenue Depot for a time tested the E2BE40. It's just, again, it falls into the same category of being a good company, but it would be an additional burden if they added to the fleet. In fact, for everyone watching the premiere or otherwise, what do you think about the buses I don't think MTA should buy? Let me know in the comments. Speaking of Gillig, NICE was able to acquire some Gillig BRT plus CNGs earlier this year. And to be honest, I was first critical against the idea only because they already have the XN40 and XN60 part of their fleet. But then I stopped being critical against NICE in particular, because when you think about it, some time ago, NICE presented a proposal of having a Manhattan Direct Express or MDX service between Nassau County and Manhattan. And one thing I thought about it was the possibility of maybe one day having some suburban variants of the Gillig BRT plus CNGs for their direct express service. Now, why that instead of the commuter coach like a Prevost X3-45 commuter, or maybe an MCID 45 CRT? Well, admittedly, because NICE is no longer part of the MTA, they don't have as much financially as they would if they were part of the MTA. And admittedly, maintaining a commuter coach costs a lot more than a regular transit bus. So by having potentially suburban transit buses for for an express service between Nassau County and Manhattan, that could probably work. And I'm not saying that it would, but it could probably work. I mean, we'll see if they follow through with their MDX or Direct Express service. For everyone watching the premiere or otherwise, what do you think about this idea? Let me know in the comments. What I also wanted to talk about for some time was One Metro New York, or OMNY, also known as the system that will replace the Metro card. Now, honestly, this is for nostalgic reasons. I will miss the Metro card because the Metro card has been around my entire life. In fact, I remember seeing the Metro card buses in Brooklyn, which was the older RTS fleet, and that's one of the main reasons why I'll miss it. Even though, to be honest, I was scared of the Metro card buses for some weird reason. For everyone that doesn't live in or around New York and doesn't know about the OMNY system, basically with OMNY, instead of having a separate card, I mean, you could use a separate card if you want to, but there's also the option of using either your credit or debit card that has a chip or a smart device to be able to pay for your trip, which is a really simple system. In fact, I got to use it one time when I actually didn't have enough money on my Metro card to take an express bus trip to Manhattan. In fact, when I paid for that particular trip, I noticed on my bank account that it seemed like there were two prices paid, namely the price of the express bus, which at the time was $6.75, and also another price which was $2.75. Now you don't have to worry about the $2.75 price because that's basically a holding fee, almost like if you pay for gas with a credit card, so to speak. And I didn't try this that day, but from what I've heard is that if you pay for an express bus with your smart card reader, if you take the regular local or select bus service or maybe the subway right afterwards, that trip is free. In fact, that's one thing that I was going to miss about the Metro card, because whenever you pay for an express bus trip with the Metro card, if you take the bus or subway right afterwards, the bus or subway is free. In fact, one thing I must commend about the upcoming OMNY program is the fact that it will be universal with MTA buses, New York City Transit, the subways, the express bus, both commuter railroads, and I believe Accessori will be included. And also, it may become available for NICE, half trains, and maybe New Jersey Transit. I'm not so sure. And I especially hope that New Jersey Transit will be included because I've yet to take any other New Jersey Transit service other than the Hudson-Bergen and Light Rail. And let's say you're going from an MTA bus to a New Jersey Transit bus, and if you only have to pay for the OMNY system, it could be nice and universal. Now, by universal, I basically mean the fact that, like, let's say you get off of an MTA bus and then a New Jersey Transit bus, like, just having one type of universal system will be needed. I mean, because they are two different services, it's likely that there will be you'll be paying for two separate services instead of a potential discount. But it could be nice. It could be easy for everyone to use, so to speak. Now, one thing I wasn't expecting with regards to the OMNY system is a potential change to the Select Bus service. Now, the only Select Bus service that doesn't have off-board fare payment is the S79 here on Staten Island. Everyone else has off-board fare payments, which at first, I was honestly skeptical with regards to the idea of paying before you board, but afterwards it started to grow on me when I realized that Select Bus service is really the idea of a bus rapid transit with the resources that New York City currently has. Like, we can't have a dedicated or build an entire infrastructure just for buses. In fact, the best thing we could have is just dedicated bus lanes that are just clear and free of the usual traffic. In fact, it grew on me to a point where I started to ask MTA, what if they could have off-board fare payment for the express bus? Because some, and not necessarily every single express bus stop, but some stops have a lot of passengers that are boarding each bus, and sometimes they could be there for at least up to 5 minutes, at least when I'm on the express bus, for instance. So if there could possibly be off-board fare payment at some stops, like in a way that could help the bus to be able to go to the Manhattan or the borough it's coming from. So I gave the MTA that suggestion, and they told me that they may not have any more off-board fare payment stations available because of the Omni system. And they mentioned for reasons why, namely, with Omni, you could be able to, it actually decreases the boarding time. In fact, it's much faster to use Omni than it is to use the Metro card. In fact, a few times when I took the the Select Bus service recently, there were some that chose not to pay before you board, and they actually used Omni and they were approved to go on the bus, which was pretty simple. And it almost makes sense, especially if you're like me and don't necessarily know how to use Select Bus service that much because we don't have off-board fare payment here on Staten Island. Basically, there was one time where it was some time since I last took a regular Select Bus service route. So the driver was courteous enough to wait for me while I was trying to find out how to put my MetroCard into the system, and a kind stranger passed by and was able to press the button so I could insert my MetroCard, and I was able to board. And even though that was a kindness and a courtesy on the driver's end, admittedly, I took some of the driver's time. Where if I had a system like Omni, that could be able to save some of the boarding time, and the driver would proceed on his route. I don't know about you, but I personally would rather, yes, to have Omni available on the buses, available on any door, like they are going to have, but still have off-board fare payment that's compatible with the Omni system. Because how is Omni going to work for the commuter railroads? Likely the same way the ticket machines are available for right now. Basically using your credit or debit card or whatever device you use to pay for, and then you receive your ticket. So why can't it be the same for Select Bus service and potentially the Express Bus? Yes, what are your thoughts with regards to this idea for Omni? Please let me know in the comments. And this is also something that I've been meaning to discuss for some time, and that's paratransit service. Now, this is based on a recommendation one viewer had that requested this from a video that I have since deleted. Well, anyway, I have nothing against paratransit, whether it's Access-a-Ride, Essex Link from New Jersey Transit, or Able Ride with Nice, and many other paratransit services that are out there. Especially since I have friends that use paratransit to go from place to place. They don't use the regular buses. Now, one thing I've noticed is that some but not many paratransit services have high floor shuttle buses, so to speak. And mind you, for some time I was wondering, and we have many low floor buses used for regular transit service, so why not have it standardized for paratransit? And if there could be more paratransit services with low floor vehicles like the Arbach Mobility or the Champion LF Transport, or many other similar low floor shuttle buses, that could be good, courteous, and it can help to save time to be able to help passengers to board and disembark from there. And that was just my brief thoughts with regards to paratransit. Now, normally at the end of a trip, I would just skip ahead to when I got off the bus, and then you would see the bus passing by, and then that's it. But I just honestly, since the person in front of me was able to get off the bus, and they were right behind the first row, which was still blocked off because of the pandemic. I just wanted to see out the front of the bus and record out the front of the bus of a blue Prevost. And if you notice the monitor above me, in my mind, like, I was honestly correct with my thoughts with regards to the blue Prevost compared to the white ones that we have on Staten Island and also at Ulmer Park in Brooklyn. Basically, it's no different than the white Prevost. The only difference is the video monitors for advertising, and basically the seat recliners, instead of being on the armrests, they're moved lower just like they would in a regular car. And that's all I just wanted to show. Oh, anyway, what are your thoughts on this video? Tell me in the comments, and remember to like, share, and subscribe. Also, follow me on social media where I talk about similar topics.